Hey, I'm Kim.
And I'm Pancho, and you're listening to Now That You See It, a show that will ruin you for boring conversations forever.
It's about the invisible stuff that shapes how we think and connect, those, oh, wait, what? Moments that change how you perceive the world around you.
Once you see it, you can't unsee it.
Hey, we have a guest episode.
Yeah, yeah. Excited
Welcome,
to
Kara.
have Kara join us.
Hi, thanks for having me. Kara, your last name is Boston, but you are not joining us from Boston. You've got a beautiful little twang. Where are you coming from? I am in Richmond, Virginia, and that's where I'm from as well. I've left many times, but I'm back again.
What what pulls you back to Richmond if you're, if
Um,
you're like boomeranging back and forth?
Yeah, so family was, part of it, and also I just really appreciate Virginia for all 4 seasons, but Richmond specifically is just in the middle to do all the things, mountains, ocean. We have a river that, is pretty big and important. We're not that far from Northern Virginia and DC and stuff like that. And so it's a good equidistant around all the things. And as our motto says, Virginia is for lovers, and it's not so much the people loving versus all the things you can love in Virginia. So yeah,
That,
welcome. Welcome.
yeah.
Thank you.
So we're pumped to talk to you because you opened my mind in a conversation as like to caricature myself. I know I'm like big on feelings and stuff, but like as a human being, I'm such a left brain data nerd that like doesn't really understand creativity embodied. Like I know all these facts and I've read all these books and I can talk to you all day long about how important it is, but I don't do it and I don't understand it. Like I'm a really terrible doodler. I don't know what to doodle. I don't know. I look at a box of crayons and I'm like, that's nice for kids. I don't know what to do with them. You started talking about creativity as just like almost a, I don't know, like a bodily function. Like we all have this, we all can do it, and it tells us a lot about ourselves. And I was like, okay, I need to learn more about this. So tell us, what have you seen that you now cannot unsee?
Yeah, for sure. Thanks. And what have I seen? I've seen that creativity is really like a life force, actually. Like it is, the way through. I have found, right? When there's issues and problems and feelings that I just don't know how to process. So for a long time, I'm like, I create to relate. I create to relate to
Mm.
myself. I create to relate to other humans. I create to relate to my, now 18-year-old. Like that's a whole nother, ball game. And so yeah, that is what I can't unsee is that I end up asking for, guidance or help from other people. And then I realize that it's the medicine of my own creativity that is going to get me through what, whatever I'm facing. So I try to share it as much as I can. Anybody that's ready to listen.
Mm. Pancho, you got anything?
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm curious about um how you came to that. What was the process that led you to this realization where creating to relate is an approach that works really well for you?
Yeah. So way back when, no, I'm just kidding. But really, it was like my mid-30s, I would say. So, it's about 12 years ago now. I had achieved all the things that I thought I needed to achieve, with, marriage, house, cars. You know, um, I had a child at the time. She was younger then. And doing community service, working all the things. And I'm like, okay, now what? Like, why does this not feel fulfilling when this was supposed to fulfill and this was the way, that we were supposed to do it? And so I just started looking around and I was like, trying to figure out the answers and like nothing outside. So like I picked up more gym, I started working out at the gym even more. I picked up more community service, try to do more activities with my family and all that kind of outside stuff, and that still wasn't doing it either. So I was like, "Huh, what can I do?" And I also felt a little, a little, maybe a lot of shame around not being appreciative of where I had gotten in my life. Like there was people that would really like enjoy to be in my spot. And that just felt like not okay to express. I mean, I think I even started going back to therapy again at that point because I was like, well, that's someone I can talk to that won't judge, where I'm at. And, that's okay, but you get to talk to them once a week, right? Like, that's it.
Mm.
So I was like, I got to figure out something that I can do for myself. And so, of course, they recommend journaling. But gosh, if somebody picked that journal up with the things that I was writing, I would have been mortified. I'm like, oh, no, not
Like
okay.
Mean Girls burn book, like, mm-mm, mm-mm,
Yeah, and
no, no,
especially,
no.
Southern girl, and the way we're raised and like it's not
Yeah.
okay and you got to fit in this box and da 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 and the
She became a math
spirituality that
hole.
I yeah, and the spirituality that I have is like, this new thought and you've got to think positive things and, da 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 it was more, it anyway, it could be toxic positivity. So I said, okay, these things are written down. That feels a little bit better, but it feels like there needs to be more. And so that's when I just started like literally just making marks on top of it with paint, or sometimes all I had is markers. And sometimes I would collage, like just tear up some different paper to, put things so you could still see words through it, but no one would be able to tell like that this E and this F and this, they couldn't put it all together. So then I felt safe that I could scream, I could shout, and I was letting it all out. And it was, just there. And so I called the process screenshot layer it out, because it was all the different layers, the layers that I was feeling and getting rid of, and then the actual layers of, writing and painting and collage and things like that. And so that was like, whew, I found something like I didn't know if it was helping as far as like finding the answers or what's next, but at least was getting me through the shame and the hurt and the like, just the angst.
What's so profound about it is this is not, um this is not just words, and this is not just art, like wordless expression. It's a combination of both, and so, like, getting it out with words, like you were journaling, and then completely non-verbally, just like, "This is what's coming up. This is what's coming out." What did you notice about, like, when you started layering things on? What did it tell you about the words underneath?
It was interesting because, like, since I knew what was underneath, like where things got, the words that got covered up, like totally versus some that still were peeking through, I think were messages of like, hey, like, yeah, you probably have dealt with this and you're covering that one up, and but this is still ready, still raw and needs to be worked through and things like that. So I think there was, times like that. It was also like, hey, what colors am I picking? You know, there's a lot of black, there's a lot of dark colors. Like, what did that mean? And if I look, and I do, I think I'm pretty sure I've moved so much, I don't know, but I'm pretty sure I still have the original notebook that I could go back through, and maybe that's what I need to add on a blog post soon. But um the colors then got lighter, like, it might have been, like, really dark black ink because I use all color ink, it might have been dark black ink, but then by the time I process it even in that one setting, like, the colors got a little bit lighter and, maybe the materials got a little bit lighter, as well, which helped me transition to be able to use this process with other people, with groups, and then, one-on-one and coaching and things like that so that 'cause I was like, "This is working for me, like, what is?" And, like, I would focus on, like, a certain thing, like transitions, like, "Hey, if you're going through a transition right now, whether you did it on purpose or it was put on you or things like that, like, you've got to try this process out, this screenshot, layer it out," And I do it with them on Canvas so that they know that this is important work, that it's not something to throw away later because having all these feelings and stuff like that on the canvas and sitting, either showing or just, even in your closet, but not in the trash, I think is important, right? Because it'll remind them too of like, hey, I've got this tool, like I could do this. It doesn't have to be on a canvas. Or they can reuse it and just keep layering. Like I've done that before in my own practices, just keep layering over and over, as the layers, happen.
Mm.
So for someone like me or Kim, I think the reason we work so well on a podcast is because we do both have brains that work in this very, like we intellectualize things. We are more logical, information driven individuals. And I can, I'll be the first to say that there is a lack of creativity in my day to day in terms of this kind of creativity, artistic expression, that kind of a thing. So for people like us, what is it that we're missing? Like, what are we not seeing here that is available to us? But because it's not part of our day to day, we just have absolutely no idea that it's out there and available for
Yeah,
us to tap into.
the unknown unknown.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's a good question, and it is like, yeah, where do I start? Like, what if I had thing it really is like most things in life, like whatever habit that you're trying to bring into your life, like if you want to bring creativity into your life as a habit to support your, inner growth and your transformation and things like that, it's making one mark. Like mine's very visual. Like I do appreciate the visual arts because it's the analog, right? It's taking us off of the screen
Yeah.
and things like that. But I also created at one point a little like mini challenge where it's something as simple as like, hey, you're feeling really dark. Go on a mission and find your favorite light, whatever your favorite light is. And so like I knew what the one that I picked at the time was like this amazing coffee shop that had this really cool chandelier. I mean, it was just amazing. And I'm sure it's in my photo archives from way back when. But I picked that one. Other people might have picked the sun, other things like that. Just snap a photo of that. That is creative because how are you, how do you put it in your viewfinder? How you think? And then save it as your wallpaper, and when that comes up, that's your light. Like, that's a light, that's a reminder to be, "Hey, this is your light to turn on your creativity," right? This is your light to whatever is dark for you at the moment. That is one thing. Or, picking your power color. Like, what is your confidence color? Mine is green, which is,
I was gonna
like,
say,
why
there's
I'm
green.
wearing it tonight. Excuse me, I mean, that's one of my paintings too. That's my abstract version of Monet's lily pads. But
Mhm.
what is your power color? What will help you get through the confidence that you need to, and it may not be a whole shirt, it might be a headband, it might be a hat, it might be earrings. Like I make a lot of my earrings too because I'm on Zoom all the time. And so like that's the accessory that I'm gonna, see back. What color is that? And then just like, surround yourself, make a vignette of that color in your day to day, the most mundane thing like washing dishes. How can you make that creative? Well, the other day, like I was realizing like just kind of like how they all stack together and just looking at like, hey, was there a pattern? Was there a color? Just getting curious. I mean, that's really how you open your creativity is getting curious. Seeing the the strawberry top, on the thing and that red color against the off-white um sink that I have is just like it's just a pop, and so just like looking for those pops and being creative and being like, oh well, what if I looked at it this way? So for business owners, a lot of times I will help them get out of their, like, maybe you're stuck even trying to write your blog post, right? Or your email for your next person. It's like just take your logo, flip it upside down and start drawing lines from it. Just doodle from your own logo. It gives you a different perspective because you're looking at it from a different angle. You're drawing, you're moving things, you're moving the stuck energy around, and that will invite the creativity.
What happens to people when they do that? What transformations do you notice when people go from just like talking about their problems to marking about their problems?
Mhm. They see a way through,
Mm,
right? I
it's pretty.
mean, they've felt totally stuck. They
Mhm.
have felt like this is the biggest problem. This is no one, other people might have had this, but they can't get through it because da da da. And then they're like, oh my gosh, I can get through it. I can make myself, move through this and understand it. and I know how to do this for the next time. Like, it's not just a, like, one time with Kara, and then that's the only time I'm gonna ever solve anything. I really love that this creative, the creative exercises and things that I share with folks is able to be repeated if we remember it, if we remember it's in our toolbox, things like that. If not, I'm here, like, check back in, like, what was it that we went through? But yeah, that's the biggest thing is they're like, "Ugh," and there's like this just this relief, that
Yeah,
relief of like, oh, and it feels simple. So they're like, why couldn't I think of that? And like, well, because you're focused on this and looking at it this way, and you weren't allowing any other perspective at the time. Right. And we're talking about, once you see something like, it's that I think that's the biggest thing is just like the relief. I'm like, wow. And putting together, it's like connecting dots that they could not connect before, really. Right. It's like, oh, tend to go to like a client recently, I tend to go to that negativity river so often. I know I don't want to go there, but I don't know how to just stay on the bank and let the negativity, flow. I don't know how to do that. And we do an exercise with the non-dominant hand and drawing, and then we do it with the dominant hand, and they're like, "Whoa, like I can like do something a little different and then I'm not going straight to the river, or I can slow down and feel and do it with my non-dominant hand, and it doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be all the ways that I thought. Cause that's the thing is like I have noticed this for myself recently. I've been doing a lot of writing every day, and I was like, "Wait, it doesn't have to be like I thought it had to be." Right? Like we think it has to be a certain way or we have to do it a certain way. But when I was, unable to do the typing, I dictated my writing, and that's still writing. But I was
mhm,
like, "No, that's cheating. Like you can't do that. You have to actually either be writing with your hand or typing on the keyboard, right?" But no, and once I unlocked that, the words just flowed. I
mm,
mean, my writing just got so much more expansive. It was almost like a download, I would say, because like I would realize I was closing my eyes when I was doing the dictation versus when I'm typing, I'm like editing. What did that word? Oh, Kara, you spelled that wrong. Da 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 da. Like the critic is just there and there and there, right? So, yeah, I mean, that was a lot I know in answering that question, but it's just there's a lot that we get when we allow this creativity to come. And I would say, the best way to do it is to get curious.
Yeah. I want to dig into this. It sounds like a metaphor or, like a way of talking about negativity, the negativity river. Um, I'd love to understand what you mean more when you say that. And then also using that example once we've defined it more to understand, okay, well, what changes when you take this approach, right? When you get creative and it shifts your relationship with what you're calling so one, what is a negativity river? How does that show up?
Yeah. Well, that actually was the client's thoughts. Like that's what she's saying, that she was
Ah,
going into the negativity river. And so I was just supporting her with her words and the way that, she was so it was more of an example of that. But I think it does circle back to what I was saying just a little minute ago though about the critic, like the inner critic that comes out for us when the inner critic's like, you're not doing it the way that everybody else is doing it. You don't know how to get through this. You've gone, you've come up against this problem so many times. Like, why aren't you better now? Why can't you figure it out on your own now? And so like that is definitely some of the negativity that comes. And what the creativity does is it allows a different perspective. It allows you to do something and get you out of the, right brain thinking, right brain. Yeah.
mm,
Um,
okay. Get
that's
you out of
yeah.
analytic into
The
creative.
analytic side. And
Yeah.
and here's the thing that I probably should have shared way earlier in this episode, but I'm totally 50-50. So my day job is IT director, a project manager, program manager. So like I have a t-shirt that says I love checklists. Like I am that girl, but I'm also this creative girl who, shows her paintings and her earrings and things like that at work and stuff like that. And so um getting back to, like, how this it's like an active meditation. To
Yeah.
me, the creativity is active meditation because it allows us to quiet the noise that is going on so that we hear the inner compass or soul or whatever it is that you identify as your inner voice. We can finally hear it. Because when I was going through this, 12 years ago, and I was going to the coaches and to the counselors, and they're like, the answers are inside. The answers are inside. I was livid. I would love to go see which piece I did on that or pieces I did on that to be like, "Are you flipping kidding me? Like, what do you mean the answers are inside? Like, I'm paying you money to give me the answers because at the time, even my goals were because of what everybody told me I needed to do from the outside, not
Uh,
and so this allows me to get to the inside and, find my joy from the inside out, find my goals from the inside out. What do I want to do? What am I feeling? And get to that intuition. Like that to me, that's what I call it is intuition. And so, yeah, I mean, this allows you to tap into that, and so, I mean, some really simple, I think, examples, but you may not, is picking a different way to work, like and that's, like, whether you go to work as in, like, in the car or a train or bus or whatever, but also, like, if you just walk into your living room, that's your office or whatever, like, hey, maybe you don't go straight to the living room. Maybe you take 2 laps around the block or your house, then you go into the living room. Just change it up a little bit. If you always wear gold with a certain outfit, why not try silver today? Why not? Just change it up. Like that is creativity. That unlocks, that gets the brain moving in a different direction. It's kind of like that. I don't know the whole ins and outs of the neuroplasticity, but it is starting to create a new pathway of like, I don't have to do it always the same way every single time.
uh,
Oh, man. Fun fact about me is I decided long ago that I didn't wanna be right-handed for, like, funsies. I don't know.
Mhm.
It was so boring. I was like, "Everyone's right-handed. I wanna be left-handed." I'm really not left-handed though. But, like, this is, like, early on, and so I taught myself how to play soccer left foot dominant, and to this day, I'm, like, a better left foot kicker than right foot kicker. I brush my teeth with my left hand. I eat with my left hand. Do a bunch of things with my left hand. And in part because I think at some point when I was a kid, I was like, I just want to be different. I was like always the counter, whatever it is. I just always wanted to be different. And then over like time, I realized, oh, it helps your brain be like you just little things like that. Brushing your teeth with your left hand
Mhm.
makes you more observant of different, like learning a new language
Absolutely.
makes you more observant of differences all over the place. Like everything changes. It's like a total system effect for brushing your teeth with your freaking left hand. It's so
Mhm.
cool.
Yeah, that is a great example and definitely what I found. I mean, back in the day when I was in elementary, middle, and high school, I went to a Catholic school. And so we had the uniform situation, which I love, I
Got
think
you.
that's amazing. But I was the same way. I was like, "How do I stand out? I still need to stand out. What do it?" So, we had this store called Ben Franklin, and it was a craft store, and they had a wall of grosgrain ribbon, which grosgrain ribbon is the one with, like, the
The
little
wire in it?
lines in between. It's really nice ribbon. Like, I would say it's high-end ribbon, but there's no wire or anything in it. And they would have festival, so they would have the holiday kind, they would have just the pinks and the I was able to get all the ribbon that I wanted, and so it's like, how is it gonna wear it? Is it gonna wear it as a headband? Was it gonna wear it as this? Like, that was my way to express my creativity when there was a box, and so what I'm also sharing here is that creativity actually loves constraint. So instead of
Whoa.
taking the entire crayon color box or the paints color, whatever rain, we are picking 2 colors and that's it. Or I mean, monochromatic is amazing too. Just one color. If like let's say we pick green, how many different ways can I and shapes and things can I make with this one green to make it look different or different patterns? Or what if I added a little bit of water? What if I, just added a little bit, less paint or maybe it's like, green plus white, or green plus black and then what does that do?
hmm,
Again, opening up your mind, but the creative constraint actually supports. the movement forward and the different ideas.
How?
Because think about when you have a problem, let's say it's in work, and you're like, I've got to create this widget, but I only have $100. How can I get somebody to make this for $100? How can I, what did I like? Probably not going to find much for $100, especially this day and age, right? So it's like, okay, I only have $100. So then what do I do? Oh, what if I made a contest for somebody to make the best widget? Da da da. I'm not going to call it a widget. I'm going to say it's a contest, like decorate the best, you know, widget like thing. And then all these people volunteer to do it, and I still have $100. So that constraint really allows the creativity, the critical thinking, and the innovation, as we would call it probably in the work world, to come out, because it's like, whoa, like I only have these things. You probably have done, like, the puzzles where it's like, "Here's 3 lines, make those 3 lines into a circle." Right? It's like, "How do you do this?" And it's like, you can only add 1 more line, that you draw, but there's these 3 lines, how do you do it? And you sit, and you sit, and you sit, and you figure it out, and then, or try to figure it out, and then the facilitator gives you the answer, like, "Oh my gosh, I didn't think about that." But
Yeah.
again, you were trying and moving your brain in different, tweaks and turns to, get that. And so that's why the constraint really does help when, especially if you're getting your feet wet in the creative journey that you're starting on.
Uh,
This is why I love constraints, but this is why I love pantry dinner because too m too many options completely overwhelm me, and I
Hmm.
just don't make anything. But if I'm like, "You have to make something from the pantry. Figure it out."
Hmm.
I'm like, "Got it. This is gonna be so fun." Like, I love constraints. They are so freeing because I'm like, "Oh, okay, cool. It doesn't have to be perfect because I had constraints. It's gonna be messy. It's gonna be weird. It's gonna be a little off, but it's also gonna be, like, blooming with, I don't know, ideas that I would have never come up with had somebody been like, "Literally, it's a blue ocean. Make anything you want out of it. Anything. The whole thing. The whole world, the whole seabed is yours.
Yeah.
You get a
And
canvas."
two things from that is that's the non-dominant hand exercise as well, is that we don't put any pressure on the non-dominant hand to draw.
Yeah.
But then when you ask the dominant hand to do it, you're like, you messed that up. You did, the
Yeah.
critical piece comes right to it, right? And so totally amazing way to illustrate that point. And also, like, to follow up on your last point of like the blue ocean and like, what do I do with all this? Same thing happens when you give folks a blank canvas or a blank piece of
Yeah.
paper. Please type, what you would like to share. Please paint the, Mona Lisa. Please, whatever. And you're like, what? So that's why I'm like, make the first mark. It can be ugly, it can be, whatever. So a lot of my paintings just start with like a bunch of squiggles or, just some washes of paint or whatever. And then once you do that, you're like, okay, now I got this. Now I can do the next layer. And now I can do the next layer. But that, action begets action, a mark begets a mark.
hmm.
I love
Yeah,
this.
the thing that it's coming to mind for me to like show up with, like analytical, here's the psychology, blah 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 blah. Like paradox of choice.
Uh-huh.
Like when you're in the grocery store and you've got 300 things, 300 versions of the same thing to choose from. It's actually a much harder and less pleasurable shopping experience. And if you just have like 10 of them, and then it's
Mhm.
much easier to make that choice, right? So I'm
Yes.
hearing that something similar happens with creativity. Like if you have infinite creative freedom, it becomes really difficult to know where to start
Hmm.
and where it's going to go. Whereas if you set yourself narrow parameters and constraints, it's easier to work within those parameters and to let the creative process flow.
100%. And
Mm,
what's funny is that my day job right now with the company that I'm in, we actually help grocers a lot of time, and we have all kinds of retailers, but grocers with their assortment. And what made me think of it too is I don't know if you have Publix where y'all are, the supermarket, but their tagline is where shopping is a pleasure. And
Ah,
their assortment stack is very small.
yeah.
So it really does all like make sense, and that's the
Right.
science behind it because I work for a data science company. So yeah, I mean, it's totally you're nailed it.
Ooh. Yeah, Trader Joe's for life. They've got, like, an
Exactly.
unreal limited amount of stock.
Yes.
And I'm like, "Bing, bing, 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 bong." And then when they offer something new, I'm like, "I have the capacity to consider this." And I'm like, "Maybe.
Mhm.
Maybe
Yeah.
I'm a, like, butternut squash ravioli girl this week. I don't know. Who knows?"
Yeah. Huh. Okay, let's go down this rabbit hole because like
Ding, 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 ding.
Costco does this too, right? Costco only has like one or they have hundreds, probably thousands of items in a store, but they only have like one or two of any given thing.
Mhm.
Now that we know you're an expert on this, what's the psychology there? How does that play out? We're doing the side quest. We'll come back to creativity, but I'm really curious about this.
I mean, I think from a merchandising, I don't know for sure because I don't do that part. Right now, I'm working in the retail media world,
Okay.
so
Mm,
side of the house, but I actually have never really done a lot of the assortment stuff, but in my mind, it's funny because I have Costco family members that are kinda high up there, but, um, it's more of the money maker and, like, I know they're gonna come here for the other things or, this is the one big thing, and if I don't give them the choice, they want the volume. So I'm just gonna get these couple things and, that's all I need to care about. Like that's what I need to do. And then again, like I think they're doing it to help with the customer because I mean all the stuff that they're doing now that is, anyway, it gets more political, but I do think it is just that piece of like, hey, don't let them choose all the things. Their baskets are already be overflowed. Like we can't, da da da. And they want to move the product, right? Like they're good about moving the product and stuff like that. So, but I don't know for sure. Like that's all Kara thoughts, not anything else.
well,
My brain is stuck on how creativity gets people unstuck. So when we were like, "What happens when they do this?" And you were like, "Welp, they figure their problems out." I was like, "Well, that's a pretty big reason to be creative." And it sort of got me thinking, why? Why is that true? And remembering that, oh man, one of like the books that just it's a whole episode. It's a Now That You See You Can't Unsee It. One of those books for me is this amazing book by a neuroscientist called Emma Gilchrist. It's called Master and Its Emissary. And it's called that because it's about the left brain and the right brain. The right brain being the master, but the left brain being the emissary, the only one that can speak. The right brain doesn't have access to words, to
mm,
language. And so the left brain is the carrier of the message. The right brain actually knows the truth. It knows the feelings. It knows the realities. It's like it can see things, but it can't say it. And it just gotta like use this mouthpiece. And the problem is, this mouthpiece over here sometimes gets a little confused. It only has access to the information it has access to right in front of it. And so it loops on itself. It doesn't go outside of itself. And it can get really, I mean, it's very like ChatGPT. It's very like AI of the left brain is just like recycling its own stuff over and over again. And so that's why we get into cycles of things like, I don't believe other people when they bring me disconfirming evidence because I haven't heard that before yet. And I don't wanna believe it, and it makes me uncomfortable. Meanwhile, the right brain's going, "That's your truth, you should probably believe that." And it's like, "Nope, nope, 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 nope. Mm-mm, mm-mm."
yeah.
And so what's so cool about this is that what you're sharing probably why, like, these, "Oh, it all clicks" moments happen is
Mm,
because the right brain is finally like, "Buddy, like, sit down, left brain. We are gonna get direct access to this person's, like, whole intuition through this box of crayons right now.
Mhm.
Shut up for a second and like let's get to the meat of this." And like it happens. And like when we're in that flow state of creativity, our brain waves change. See this, like I know this shit, I just like forget to do it. We go from like high analytic left brain, I forget what kind of wave it is, it's the one that's like to much slow like flow state
Mhm.
alpha. theta, slow,
Mhm.
like you're almost drowsy. That's what happens when you're falling asleep. And there's enough quiet for like the right brain to just express itself, not through words, but like body, emotions, creativity. What you look at your mark and you're like, oh, that's what I need to do. Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah.
Yeah, it was really cool.
That is I love the science behind it, and thank you for adding that, and what also it reminded me of is, in some of the, I called it creative mindfulness, like, when we do it on the canvas and, like, getting through some things. Like, usually for that, I make them start with their non-dominant hand and write down all their thoughts of, like, why they're not creative or why they think this activity is gonna be silly or, da, 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 and, like, getting that all out with their non-dominant hand, and then they go and intuitively, whatever color they pick first, because I have them all set up, and then they come back and they paint that over, and sometimes it bleeds because it's, charcoal, or sometimes it's just totally covered up, or sometimes it's a really light color, so it comes through and, whatever happens, happens, and then I give them all of these materials to paint the next layer, but there's no paintbrushes. It's cars.
Cool.
It's cars, it's forks, it's knives, it's flowers, it's the laundry ball things that fluff up, in the dryer and things like
Yeah.
that. What else do I mean, string, like everything but a paintbrush. So again, they're looking at using things in a different way. Like it's not you don't just use this in the dryer. Like you can use this for this, you can use
Mm.
this for that.
Okay.
To open up and invite the perspective shift and to do things. So if I can do that with an adamant object, why can't I do that with my thoughts? Why can my thoughts not change because, I want them to?
Oh, Kara, that's a good one.
What's an example of doing that? So, like, I can very easily imagine, okay, I've got, like, my little wool ball that I throw in the dryer to fluff up my clothes, and I could use that as, like, a paintbrush alternative, and it's gonna do something different when I, put paint to paper. Um, what's an example of doing that with one's thoughts?
Um, I think when when we ask, is it true? Like, I think that's like the quickest, easiest way, right? So it's like, oh my gosh, I can't do anything right. Is that true? Can you tell me a time, brain, that we did do something right?
Mhm.
And if you can't, can you go find somebody that can tell us so that we can move through this, right? Like I don't want you to stay stuck there. But I think that that is like the biggest time or the biggest help, I think, again, in seeing it differently and like breaking it down to like, oh, I'm being very overgeneralized here that all of my thoughts are negative. I'm in the negativity river. I can't do anything right, da da da. And it's like, well, wait, is any of this true? Like, what if I did? So, like, I don't know the answer. I don't know what my next step is. What if you did know your next step?
Mm.
Oh, I do know my next step, and it is, and then it rolls off your tongue. And, like, if you're stuck, like, "Oh my gosh, I need to write something, I need to write something. I don't know what to write, I don't know what to write." Write, "I don't know what to write," or just write, like, what you're seeing, like, "Oh, I'm seeing Kim and Pancho on the screen, da da da," and then it tricks you and you start writing about what you meant to write when you sat down. So that's how it changes.
It's like, we're in the coaching world, all of us, but what all of our clients are looking for are, like, insights and, like, there's a problem that they're trying to get through. And what you're telling us is, like, here is this really underutilized tool to get exactly what all of our clients want, which is, like, the unfiltered insight of truth and what we know people benefit from, cognitive flexibility.
Mhm.
That's super cool.
Yeah.
Preach.
Preach. I know. You know, I gotta say, I want you to tell the story that you told us before we were recording about, like, was it, like, a bunch of corporate executives?
Oh, yes, consultants. Okay,
Consultants.
so,
What
I
was going on for
do
them? 'Cause I feel like I would relate to them, and then you come in and I'm like,
Yeah,
Just tell us about
it's
the
cool,
choice.
like, I've been able to do, a lot of different group things, there's other companies that will bring me in to do, like, these certain exercises with them, so for this group of consultants recently, we were actually working on Stress Awareness Week, and I was doing a creative mindfulness exercise and helping them with 3 different, activities that they could do to release their stress, and it's bilateral drawing.
Mm.
I
Mhm.
actually have a picture of what we did. Creating a new belief, like literally. I know the podcast people won't see it, but you guys can see it. And so we did kind of my process, right? A screenshot, layer it out. Well, anyway, I told them like one tip at a time. I'm like one step at a time. I'm like, okay, take one a different color, but you can pick both same color, but one in each hand, and go at the same time and just draw. And, I'll tell you when to stop or whatever, but just notice what you notice or whatever. And they're like, well, then what do we do? Well, then what do we do? And I was like, hold up, y'all are wound really tight like right now. Like, just hold on, like, don't do it. And some didn't even come with like analog materials. So they were making it work on their computer, like with,
Mm.
paint and stuff like that. The paint tool. Um, and so I was like keeping them in that tension though of like not knowing, like, hey, consultant, like sometimes a lot of times you go into this world, into a new business and you don't know all the things and you can't know all the things and it is uncomfortable. And guess what? You can be uncomfortable and move through it or and have a transition like, in the stress. And so then we did the one where we journaled out about our stress and like what's making us stressed and how can we, what would we rather feel and things like that. And then I told them to color over it, something like that, and then tear it up. Like tearing is so cathartic. It is so, so cathartic. And so tearing it up and then creating what their new belief is about stress. Like I have stress and I also get through my stress kind of thing. And so this was like I'm coming my new belief is I'm coming from love and I made, it out of a heart, and just taped it
Oh,
down.
yeah.
So you cannot tape it down and like keep rearranging it if you need to keep rearranging your stressful thoughts. But it was just so interesting because what I did is by like the third activity, I gave them all of the steps because I knew it was kind of like getting in the way for them. But I also in the beginning knew it's kind of like, sell them what they want, give them what they need kind of thing. And so I just, and they were just like, wow, like this is amazing. Like I didn't realize how just scribbling on the paper could really like just loosen me up so that I could, be ready, and release the stress or just be ready for the next meeting that I think might be difficult, just let me go in with a little bit, less, pressure.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Consultants. I love that.
Uh, the yeah, my mind is and like again, this is my logical mind. It's like, okay, so you literally just draw, like doodle
Mhm.
with different colors, and then you tear that piece of paper up into shreds, and then you use the pieces that you shredded up to build something new.
Mhm.
And that gets you to the point where you form a new belief.
Yeah. And then it's like a new mantra that you have there to repeat, right? Like I took it off my wall, but yeah, it's a new like it's literally, reforming the thought that you had before into something that serves you. So like, the whole thing like, well, this isn't serving me anymore. And it
Right.
did, and it still honors it. It's like this is a way to show that we're not throwing that away. Like this is still a foundation to my next thought.
Mm, that makes sense.
Yeah, I'm also thinking about how how, like, handwriting is so different for learning than typing,
Hmm.
that, like, when we kinesthetic, motor, technique, da, 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 like, you're literally gripping, grasping, kinesthetically working with the beliefs and
Mhm.
rearranging them, and I imagine that has a profoundly different effect on how you internalize the new belief than if you were just like, "Okay, I'm supposed to believe that I come from love. I come from love,"
Yep.
you know?
Similar to using, not just talk therapy, but somatic.
Yeah.
therapy,
Yeah.
using breath work, using, right? Like none of these things on their own really are going to get you across the finish line. I think they all do need to, work in a symphony together to support you to the best self or the goal, whatever goal might be, just one step better, 1% better. It may not be your best self. So yeah, but I think that is the hard part is that, and that's why I think many folks may not be ready to sign up and work with me because they're like, oh, she does creativity. I stay over here and I do this
Yeah.
thing. And so that's why I'm like, just come try it out with me. Like, well, first, I
Mhm.
mean, if they listen to this podcast, they'll see the passion, but like, just try the thing. And like, all of my sessions, I ask for permission, but we start with a actual drawing a circle in the beginning, and we have, it's I call it a focus circle, and so we draw. I invite them to draw a circle. I draw it as well on the outside of the paper. Put all the things that are rolling around in your head so that they have a safe place. Then on the inside of the circle, write our names because we're coming into this session together. And if it's a big group, then all the group people, and then write your intention for the session. And all of a sudden, it's like, "Ah, I'm focused. I'm ready. Like I've put the
Um,
outside in." And I gave that to the consultants as well to, get them centered before they go like into a session they might think is going to be tough or something like that, or that they just want to have, more of a focus. And so then at the end of our session, we come back to the circle. Did you meet that intention? And this, they don't have to tell me, right? They just check, did you meet the intention? Is there anything else that you want to remember from the session? Put it in the circle, and then our session is complete.
hmm. Pancho, you look like you have something cooking.
I mean, all the time.
All the time?
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm just mindful we're gonna get to an hour before we know it. We're 45 minutes in. And I think that I'll speak for both of us, Kim. I think we don't know, like there's probably something we should be asking that we don't know to ask because our creativity muscle is so underdeveloped. Um, so the question that keeps, that is coming up for me is what is it that we're not asking you about that we should have asked you about so far, Kara?
I don't know. Y'all been very thorough. I guess it might be just like, how can I do this on my own? Like, I can't talk to you every day, probably, right? Like, how do I do this on my own? Because, yes, I will be your cheerleader. I will encourage you to do this work, but how can I do it on my own? And that's, I think, you know, making an intention. I use my creativity to support me throughout my day. That could be something very simple. Like I have one that it was so interesting, like, because I didn't know if I really believed in like writing these affirmations down and like having them in the mirror and, da da da. Da. But I like glanced at this one and I was like, I am somebody who works out regularly now. I am.
Mm,
Mm, mm.
I wasn't, but I am. So I would definitely offer and invite you to, create the affirmation that would support you, that I am somebody that invites creativity into my life. I mean, maybe it's just that. Maybe it's as simple as that right now. Like that's the thing. But writing it, not just typing it, but writing it, I would say also. Um, if you wanted to take it a step further, what feels like a stretch, but not too much of a stretch? Is it wearing purple and gold together for the first time when you always wear purple and silver? Like,
Mm.
is it rearranging your books to just be in a color code? Like all the blue
Mhm.
ones, the rainbow kind of aesthetic kind of thing. Is it singing your favorite song and then adding, 2 or 3 lines that you created yourself? Because it's not always visual. It doesn't have to always be visual, right? Is it, what are some other things? I mean, I'm just kind of thinking off the top of my head of like, yeah, what are some great starters? Because I am not, in the starting realm. So I do have to remember that.
Yeah, the expert
But
bias. Yeah.
Yeah, so, like, I mean, even, like, I just looked at a package of yarn that I have that I just loved the colors, like, I don't know really what I'm gonna do with it, but, like, I love these colors all together, and they look really cool just even all balled up the way that they are right now, so, like, is there some type of vignette that you can make or create of your favorite color? Whatever it is right now, it might not be your power color, but, like, I'm trying to think if I have something, like, real close. Oh, like, well, I mean, it's not I forgot it's a podcast, but, like, a bunch
No,
of
that's a
pink
video. You can show
things, like,
Pancho figures out
We have
how to do
video.
this on YouTube.
yeah,
We're on
so, I mean, like, this candle that I have, so, like, it has the pink sorry, pink, and then there's my wallet that's pink, and, like, just do like, a flat lay of these things, put them all together, see what comes up for you and your thoughts and maybe take a picture and you can look at it again later and say like, "Hey, what does that look like?" So just simple things like that. Use a different color. If you always write with black pen, go get yourself a blue one or get yourself a purple one. Like just invite these differences into your life and just start there. Like that's what I would suggest. But you can take it a step further and like if you have a logo for your business or even your name or whatever, like how can you write your name really fancy? Or how can you write it so that, what words, what anagram can you make from your name? Like just again, inviting yourself to just be curious about like how you can make it look different than just Kim, Kim,
Yeah.
right? Like what is
Uh,
kindness, introvert, magician? Like, oh, and then go from there. What's the next
uh,
rift,
I have that. Kind, impressive, majestic. Rose made this for me. My daughter.
There you go.
Isn't that great?
Tap
Um,
into any kids that you have around you because they have not turned their creativity off because it has not been required of them yet to turn it
yeah,
off.
I know.
So soak whatever they're doing up, hype them up, and repeat.
Yeah. Yeah. Kiara, there's so many thoughts that just pop up for me, but one of them is Martha Beck. Do you know Martha Beck?
Yes, find your North Star, and yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, and so her latest book is about anxiety, and one of the 3 steps to managing, working with anxiety is creating the creative act because just research-wise, they know that anxiety and creativity can't exist at the same time, just like we know a positive and negative thought can't exist at the same time, and that if you are anxious, you're very unlikely to be creative. But also, if you're creating, you're very unlikely to let anxiety come in. So one of her tips is, if you're at like anxiety spiral, just start writing your signature first, like with your right hand, with your dominant
Mhm.
hand, then with your non-dominant hand, and then flip it over, like upside, like it as if it's a lake being reflected back to you, and then do it with your non-dominant hand. So you've got four, flipped, and just the act of having to do that, all of a sudden you're like, what was I worried about again? And
Mhm.
then you have access to that prefrontal cortex again. You're not, like, in the limbic system and just in the, like, fear, 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 which I really appreciate that frame, that, creativity. So, like, for the artists out there who like you, and for other people who, like, must be listening to this conversation and you're like, "Why do you need a reason to be creative? It's, like, for your soul, shut up." And also, I'm just, like, not that I need the reasons, like, I need to know why. I need the science, I need the, like, "What am I supposed to get out of this?" And then I get the thing out of it. And so, just, like, if anyone out there is listening and is like me, it is a profound effect on, like, if you wanna get out of anxiety, if you want access to the things that you know that your left brain can't see and won't let you know, this is how to get there. The
Mhm.
somatic work, the artwork, the, like, left brain the right brain flow state work that, man, I wish I could pronounce his name, Mihail Csikszentmihalyi something. R the great
Oh yeah.
flow. Um, okay, the final thing I wanna ask you about, though, is the real spark for me of, like, "Carrie, you gotta come on this podcast," was when I was like, "I'm not really creative," and you're like, "Just make a mark." And I was like, "Just make a mark." Wow, that's so simple. What do you know about the mark? And you were saying like you can really start to not diagnose people, but just like get to know them a little bit better by how they mark. And what it sparked for me was I've been learning a ton recently about play therapy for
Mm.
kids, like for my kids, for other kids, but like I don't know, the internet is feeding me these videos now, man. And I am eating them up. You know why? Because just like creativity, it was this thing that exists in the background that I wasn't paying attention to, that's everywhere and carries like loads of data and information. So like the way kids express themselves on their feelings is through play. It's their language. Like things I knew but didn't know. And like
Mhm.
watching how they play. So is it like ordering things together?
Mhm.
Is it, like play fighting? Is it, like these dramatic scenes? Is it hiding? Is it sensory? Is it dissociation? Like, how are they playing?
Nurturing.
Nurturing. Oh my God. I have so many stories that I'm now like, whoa, wow, we got information here. But as I've been learning more about sort of the like what these right-brained activities express about the body, the system, the environment that the left brain couldn't ever hope to be able to express. It has me in this like, oh, this is play therapy for adults. This is like the way we are expressing the things we can't express is through various forms of creation that we have like downplayed and poo-pooed because it's for kids or it's for artists and we are not those. But when you open it up to like it's taking a different way to work, it's brushing your teeth with your left hand, it's writing your signature backwards, then you're like, oh, okay, that's different. So this is a whole monologue, but like what comes up for you when I say all that stuff?
Um, I think that's why I use the word creativity instead of art to try to
Yeah.
release the barrier of that, right? And why the activities a lot of time are just pen and ink. Um, Again, to release the barrier, one of the activities we did recently for mental health awareness was blackout poetry, which means you take words that are already existing on a paper, and Austin Kleon, I guess invented this. I don't know. It was in his book and he's a master blackout poetry artist, but you take all these words and then you cover them and then you're just left with words. So like this is a very fancy one. This is more than blackout, but
Oh, cool.
you only have a few words left and you make your new poem, right? From
Mm.
existing words. And so like I think that is my the hill that I'm going to stand on for the rest, at least until something else comes, I guess, but is that it's so accessible. Like it's just you can take, a book that you already have and photocopy it and you can do a different poem probably every day. Like there's no reason for you not to tap into your creativity other than your brain saying this is frivolous, or whatever. And so like that's a whole nother thing that we need to work on, but that's why I try to use the examples of everyday life and of materials that anybody can do versus, painting like a Monet or something like that. Because if you don't give yourself this gift of opening up that creativity, like it's like Wayne Dyer says, you could possibly, die with the song still inside of you, right? Like, and I just don't want people to have to suffer. Like to me, it's kind of even suffering of not using your creativity, right? Because it can just open and unlock so many things for you. And so, yeah, I think that is where and when I was explaining to you about like, hey, I learn things about people and their, art styles or, their creative styles, whatever they're doing. So like, um, if it's, more circles, that means, there's some kind of well-roundedness and some like belonging and things like that. If it's more geometric and lines, they are like probably, just very rigid and, like, let's do this, let's do this. If you get a mixture of both, you know that they've got both sides coming out, and they, it's like you might want to tend to one versus the other. If they are, you ask like one of my exes, I mean, I actually made a little journal, like handmade a journal for a couple of sessions that I did. And one of the things was like, hey, just draw dots, like just draw dots. Are the dots really close together? That means they're probably like really closed off or something's really stressing them versus like really far out. Like they might be less stressed and they feel like there's space to move and, things like that. And then when they connect them all together, what does that look like? What colors are they choosing? Um, this is more art therapy. So I go to an art therapist, but when I do some work with her, she's like, okay, where in the painting would you jump into it? And when you're in that painting, what do you feel like? So, again, something else that we as coaches can ask, like, hey, if you were to jump into, this belief, where would you be? What would you feel? What would you see? Like, just to help, with some visualization. Again, to bring the creativity without actually having to draw something, you can, add it to your sessions like that as well. And actually, I worked for a little while with a life coach, and because I can't find the stat anymore. Kim, you might know it, but um if you make information tangible, it's retained like an exorbitant amount more, like
Yeah.
90% or more. And so I worked with a life coach where she would, do her life coach information. And then I hosted a community creative study hall, and I brought a creative activity to make the lesson tangible so that everybody could, just embody it even more. And so, at one point I was like, maybe that's what I'm supposed to be doing, is like helping all these coaches bring the creative element to their practice, and then they get even more amazing results and transformation. So that, that might be my possibility too. But because I really do work well with teams, but I think that's all my sports growing up. But that is what I would say is like, I think it's so accessible and easy to pick up, but you have to make the choice, just like you have to make the choice to go to the gym. I mean, that's
Yeah.
another idea I have, is like having a creative gym where people can come in. They don't have to have all the materials, but they can come in and try a blackout poetry. They can come in and try painting on a canvas if
Oh.
they don't want to buy them at home, or, just like you don't want to buy your dumbbells and this machine and that machine. So you go to a gym. What if there's a creative gym? Like, I don't know, but
Oh,
so
Kara.
yeah.
I think we
Mhm.
just found our episode title. That's awesome. Yeah.
Hmm.
Is there anything else you wanna say that we haven't said yet?
I don't think so. I think it's interesting because I don't have just one way to say this. I don't have, one way of doing this. And I guess I just need to keep doing it, and maybe it will become uh, more of a flow or something. I'm not sure, but it's just, I believe in this so much. Like, I mean, my daughter's probably like, oh, but actually she's taken right along with it. She's like all into like, I'm going to be art, I'm going to do this. And I love how, it's taught me to do feelings because she doesn't do feelings. And so, I just think that you really, 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 really will do yourself a big, huge service if you just attempt any of the exercises that I've shared, or want to reach out to me and ask for one specifically for something you're going through. I really think, you try it and you'll be like Mikey and you'll like it. And it'll be like, oh, because really, you've tried all the other things. I'm not, and this is a royal you. This is not Pancho and Kim. But like we try all the other things, which I was doing. Like I was reading the self-help books. I was going to therapy. I was trying all the other stuff to make me happy and find my joy again. And it wasn't outside of me, right? So you've done all the other things. They're not working for you. So why not give this a try?
Mm, that's awesome.
Some
Mm. Does that feel complete?
yeah, Kara, thank you.
Thank
I've got
you.
I've got so many ideas about I like my 2 sentence takeaway is like, how do I get weird in my life? From, like starting to brush my teeth with my left hand to, just like, yeah, like what are the things that are super basic that I can just get weird with and, try to tap into that creative urge instead of only thinking of it as an artistic endeavor.
Yeah, and one more quick one that you just brought to mind that I've even been doing recently. Again, I learned it from my daughter. I learned a lot of things from her, but is my t-shirts. Like they're like, I don't know, like, cutting out the necks, or cutting, the part that's strong, cutting off the bottom, like just doing like even that, like that's okay. Like it doesn't have to be the way that you bought it off of the rack. Like you can re-engineer it, again, repurpose it, like, look for, and that's why I think it was during the pandemic or something. I was even, we were making foil sculptures, right? Like together and like just, because you could redo it and do it over again. And so it's just like even, repurposing what's already there and not, you don't have to come up with a brand new thing. You don't have to be the creative, but like, hey, how could you make this and put your spin on it?
I love it. That really goes against the trend right now of minimalism, everything just sort of like the Airbnb aesthetic, just like it all sort of looks, I don't know, like that same old cool hip bar or like whatever it is of just let it be saturated, let it be weird, let it be imperfect, and let it be like bright, your color. Yeah. The millennial aesthetic is very like muted tones and minimalism and just like boring. I mean, probably easy on the brain, but also, like, what are we sacrificing if we're always easy on the brain, from a visual inputs, perspective?
Or we're always using things the way that they were supposedly intended, or always doing things the same way,
Right.
or always doing, getting help the way that other people say that we should get help. Because it's kind of funny, like the crocheting and the knitting and everything, those kind of things that are becoming popular again. I was telling my dad last week, I was like, "It's so weird that, they're realizing how this is helping their anxiety and how, da da da." And I was like, "I've known this for years that these crafts and things like this, and it's so weird to see, what I have already like been feeling for years, like becoming a trend or, popular or whatever." But then again, I'm so happy because clearly I wasn't getting the message out enough. So
Yeah.
somebody is. And so I think that's great because I do think it will help this world, in a big way.
All right.
All right. That was wonderful. Kara, thanks for coming on the podcast. You've opened our brains. I can't wait to start doing dots and circles and layering and screaming and layering and screaming.
Good.
I'm gonna get
Good,
my
good, good.
decoupage
My
on.
work is done then.
Yeah, let's do it.
Cool.
Cool. All right,
Awesome.
friends. This was great.
All
Thanks
right.
so much.
Thank you both. I appreciate you. Have a good
Thank
one.
Yeah. Thank
you.
you. Bye.
Bye.